Did you know that you've probably been eating toxic foods your whole life? Seriously, do you remember that comforting baked potato you last ate? It could be toxic if it's sprouted. And what about that bowl of chili? The kidney beans in it can cause food poisoning if they're undercooked, even your morning apple. Yep, its seeds contain cyanide compounds. But don't worry, most of these foods are completely safe when we know how to prepare them. And that's the thing, we've been taking chances with nature all along, and most of us never even realized it. Let's take a closer look at some common and not so common foods that you probably didn't realize were actually toxic. Potatoes can turn green and develop solanine, which is a natural neurotoxin. It forms when potatoes are exposed to light, and in high amounts, it can cause nausea, headaches, or neurological issues. Thankfully, we know to avoid green or sprouted potatoes. Kidney beans. They're full of phytohemagglutinin, which is a toxin that can cause intense nausea and vomiting if the beans are undercooked, but boiling them for at least 10 minutes makes them perfectly safe to eat. There's also rhubarb. The leaves of rhubarb are definitely toxic, but the stalks are perfectly fine. That's because rhubarb leaves contain oxalic acid and anthraquinone glycosides, which can interfere with kidney function and cause symptoms like nausea, vomiting, and even respiratory distress if consumed in large amounts. So while the stalks make great pies, the leaves should always go in the compost bin. Then there are apple seeds and cherry pits. They contain amygdalin, a compound that can break down into hydrogen cyanide when metabolized. While you'd need to eat a large number of seeds for it to be dangerous, it's a reminder that even sweet, familiar fruits have chemical defenses. And we can't forget cassava. This global food staple must be soaked and cooked just right to make it safe. That's because cassava contains naturally occurring cyanogenic glycosides, which can release cyanide when eaten raw or improperly prepared. In severe cases, eating underprocessed cassava can cause poisoning, paralysis, or even death, but properly soaking, drying, fermenting, or boiling removes the risk and makes it a safe, reliable food source for millions. And here are even more everyday foods with a toxic twist. Nutmeg, a sprinkle is fine, but in large amounts, it can cause hallucinations and nausea due to the compound myristicin. Elderberries, raw or unripe, these berries and their stems contain cyanogenic glycosides. Cooking neutralizes the toxins, making elderberry syrup safe and delicious. Raw cashews. True raw cashews contain urushiol, the same irritant in poison ivy. What we buy labeled as raw has been steamed to remove the danger. Starfruit, beautiful and refreshing, but it contains a neurotoxin that can be dangerous for people with kidney problems. Ackee Jamaican fruit. Unripe ackee is deadly due to hypoglycemia. Only the ripe yellow flesh is safe to eat. Fugu, also called pufferfish, a Japanese delicacy containing tetrodotoxin, a potent neurotoxin. Fugu must be prepared by specially trained chefs. Raw or unpasteurized honey can contain gray anotoxins that cause dizziness or nausea, especially if sourced from certain plants. Lima beans raw, like cassava, they contain compounds that can produce cyanide unless thoroughly cooked. Almonds, the bitter variety. Bitter almonds are illegal to sell raw in some places due to their high amygdalin content. They must be heat-treated. Mango skin contains urushiol, and while many people can eat it without issue, others experience reactions similar to poison ivy. So what's the takeaway? We already eat toxic foods, but we've learned how to make them safe, so this next bit might surprise you. Now here's one edible plant that we've been warned for generations not to eat due to its toxicity, but is it really? Tomato leaves. Yep, those green leafy parts you probably throw away, they're part of the nightshade family, just like potatoes and eggplants, and they've long had a bad reputation. Why? Because they contain tomatine, a natural compound that can be toxic in very high doses. But here's what's interesting. Studies show that the levels of tomatine in tomato leaves are very low, especially if you're using a small amount the same way you would with a strong herb. In fact, some chefs have started using tomato leaves to add bold, earthy, tomato-like flavor, 2 oils, sauces, and pestos. Here are a few creative ways they're being used in the kitchen. Tomato leaf pesto, a twist on traditional pesto. Tender tomato leaves are blended with olive oil, garlic, nuts, and parmesan for a rich herby flavor. Tomato leaf infused oil. Gently warm a few tomato leaves in olive oil to create a flavorful drizzle for bread or vegetables. Tomato leaf broth. Simmer a few leaves in stock to deepen the flavor of tomato-based soups. Tomato leaf finishing salt. Dried leaves crushed with sea salt for a garden-inspired seasoning. Tomato leaf pasta sauce. Add a few leaves to your simmering sauce like you would a bay leaf, then remove before serving. Tomato leaf chimichurri. Swap in tomato leaves for parsley in this bold, herby condiment. These dishes use the leaves for flavor, not bulk, just like you would with rosemary, bay leaves, or thyme. The key is moderation. You don't eat a whole plate of them, you use a few leaves for flavor. That way, you get the benefits without taking unnecessary risks. The bottom line is that this isn't about encouraging you to eat tomato leaves. It's about recognizing that our food system is full of things we once feared and later learned to respect. Knowledge and preparation turn something dangerous into something delicious. The next time you hear, "You can't eat that, it's toxic," just remember, we've been safely eating nature's strange ingredients for centuries. It's not about fear, it's about understanding. What do you think about incorporating tomato leaves into things like herbs, spices, or condiments? Share your thoughts in the comments section. I would love to know what you think. If you enjoyed this bite-sized journey into food facts and garden myths, hit that like button, share it with a friend, and don't forget to subscribe to stay informed. Thanks for watching.